She's getting a lot of hype right now, Caroline Fenton, because
Yeah.
we've seen her all over the place. She's on the sidelines wearing the headset. It's become a phenomenon. I will point out that there are other owners that listen, but not on the sidelines. So there's just become something incredible about watching her standing on the sidelines, watching her get involved. She said flat out in press conferences repeatedly, how can I know who's good at their jobs if I'm not aware of what's going on? You see the charts in her hands. Like, this is a phenomenon where we're watching real time an owner that just inherited the team after the passing of her father just a few months ago. And now we're watching her get up to speed right away and show her unique identity as an owner. It's really an inspiring thing to see.
It really is. And she's doing it differently. And that's refreshing, frankly, especially in a league that feels like, okay, we've always done it this way, so we'll continue to do it this way. I think we see some ownership groups taking that approach. And I always say, if we do everything the same way we've always done it, this would be a very, very scary place. So I like the fact that Carlie Irsay-Gordon is taking a different approach and doing it in her own individualistic way. I also have to say that she accessorizes hands down better than any other owner in the league. I mean, look at her. She's fitted all the time we see her. The hat, the glasses, the necklaces. Fantastic. But I do want to point out, though, she took over the team. Jim Irsay, former owner of the Indianapolis Colts, of course, unfortunately passed earlier this year, just before the start of training camp. So Carlie Irsay-Gordon took over, principal ownership duties when everything, the roster was set, the coaching staff was set. So this year for the Colts, obviously, we all know has been, I mean, and fantastic. It's been so fun to watch. The Colts have kind of felt like they've been America's team, kind of that underdog team, whether it's Daniel Jones himself or the identity of the Colts coming out of the AFC, that everybody wants somebody to shake up this AFC. There's a really positive feeling toward the Colts. But I can't give Carlie Irsay-Gordon a whole lot of the credit for what we've seen the Colts do because she took over so late in the season. But what I will give Carlie Irsay-Gordon credit for is this newfound positive public perception, say that 5 times fast, of the Indianapolis Colts. Everybody loves the Colts, I think, at least. The overall perception of the Colts, I think, is a positive one. We love to see this career renaissance for Daniel Jones. We love to see the Colts, competing against the Chiefs and the Bills and the AFC. And I think that Carlie Irsay-Gordon has been such a likable figure. Look at her right there. She's involved with the fans. She meets with the media. She's on the sidelines. She wants to learn. There are a lot of ownership groups that are so hands off of their respective teams that it rubs fans the wrong way. They want an owner to answer for the shortcomings of their franchises. So I think that Carlie Irsay-Gordon is such a likable person that I will give her a lot of credit for the public perception of this Colts team.
Yeah, likability earns you benefit of the doubt in most things in life, right? And so she has that.
So does
Where I
winning.
will right. And so where I will immediately give her a ton of credit is what we just saw. I mean, the AI of the chips going all in, but I don't believe the Colts make aggressive trades without Irsay-Gordon having a real understanding of who's in the room and understanding why they want the player. One thing she has stressed is, how do I know who's full of it? How do I know who's lying to me? How do I know who knows what's going on? She even went on one interview afterwards talking about, you hear that it's a wide receiver's fault, but until you have the headset on, now you might find out that it was the wrong call that got to the wide receiver. You might find out that there was miscommunication. That's how detailed she is in her work of knowing what's going on. You have to assume that played into any conversation about trading 2 first-round picks for a corner. She has to have faith in the GM, Ballard. She has to have faith in the coach, Shane Eichen. She has to have faith in the overall direction of the franchise and feel like, yes, it is worth this risk, because they're not making this trade, especially this early in her ownership career. They're not making this trade without the family's approval, right? So to me, all of this work and all of these things that we are talking about shows itself when it comes time for a trade. And one thing that C-Rob told me yesterday that I thought was pretty interesting on Inside Coverage is that the Jets went from, we're not trading Sauce Gardner, to Sauce Gardner is gone in under 24 hours. It literally was that fast. Under 24 hours, it was like, hey, we might need to do this. That speaks to the fact that the Colts were ready to make an aggressive offer that made a team listen. And that speaks to ownership being involved and having trust in the people that are doing their jobs. Transitional periods for owners can be really awkward for any sports team. So to me, if you are sitting here and you're asking what impact, having Irsay-Gordon listen on a headset has, it has the impact of her having faith in the people to do their jobs. And we saw that in the trade deadline. So I give her a ton of credit for that. Let's see how the move works out.
Yeah, and I gave and will continue to give the Colts a lot of credit for being aggressive at the trade deadline. I would never send 2 first-round picks for a corner because I don't think that any cornerback in the NFL is worth that. Maybe Pat Surtain, he would be the one. But just because I wouldn't do it doesn't mean that it's not going to be a positive outcome for the Indianapolis Colts, because the Colts now find themselves in the most competitive position that they've been in a long time. They have never won the division under Chris Ballard. It's been over a decade. And we're talking about a division with the Jags and the Titans and the Texans. That's a whole lot of crap franchises right there. And those teams have found themselves in the top spot in the division before before the Colts have. The Colts are finally in a position not just to win the division, but to win the Super Bowl. So credit to ownership. Credit to Chris Ballard, who is not typically aggressive at the trade deadline. And credit to Shane Steichen for saying, look, we're finding ourselves in a legitimate championship window. We will push all of our chips into the middle. We will risk our next 2 first-round picks. We will risk, running it back with Daniel Jones and committing ourselves to Daniel Jones if it means that we capitalize on a championship window. I will praise aggressiveness and people who put their jobs on the line to capitalize on Super Bowl windows.
I care a lot about culture. And I say all the time, culture is created top down. So to me, everybody in the building learns something when you see an owner this involved in knowing, hey, is the GM doing his job the right way? Is the coach doing his job the right way? We hear about meetings. That's common after games. Coaches and owners sit down. You see that all the time. But when you start talking about the accountability day in and day out, the accountability on game day, I think seeing an owner involved in it this way is inspiring for culture. That being said, though, Caroline, let's be honest and let's be fair here. We haven't seen bad football from the Colts. So today, with everything going great, it looks like this is absolutely perfection. I'll be real. I don't want Mark Davis, as a Raiders fan, I don't want Mark Davis walking around on the sidelines with a headset on. He's not going to offer any help to it, and it might only make things worse, right? If I'm a Jets fan, I don't want Woody walking around, like Woody from Toy Story or Woody, my owner, walking around with a headset on, like trying to tell my coaches what to do. By God, if I'm the Cowboys, the last thing we need is Jerry Jones. Like, how would we react tomorrow if on Thursday Night Football we saw Mark Davis on the sidelines and the Raiders lost? We saw Mark Davis with a headset on, with taking notes, and we saw the Raiders lose. How would we react on Monday if we watched the Cowboys lose and Jerry's pacing the sidelines with a headset on? The benefit here is that we haven't seen bad yet from the Colts under her ownership, so all of this looks like a great thing. There is a fine line between being a involved owner that's really great and a meddling owner, right? Like, and there's a fine line between being an uninvested, like Amy Adams-Strunk for the Titans is an uninvested owner. You don't want that either. I don't know where the teeter-totter, where the seesaw actually normalizes out, but as long as the results are great, we're not going to question anything that Irsay-Gordon is doing because it's working for the Colts. If the record were flopped, or if the Colts suddenly become one of those teams, and we've seen it several times in the last few years, start 7-2 and 7-9 or 7-10, I should say. Like, all of a sudden, we're going to feel much differently about it. So one of the benefits that we have in this analysis is we've only seen positive.
Look, when you're winning, everything is great. Everything is wonderful. Nothing gets put under a microscope. Alternatively, when you are losing, everything is under a microscope, and everything is bad, and everyone is stupid. I mean, even what the head coach wears on the sideline will get criticized if you are losing. That's just the NFL. Like, welcome to sports. Your culture when you're winning is great. Your culture when you're losing is bad. Your owner when you're winning is great. Your owner when you're losing is bad. Coach, quarterback, that applies to literally everything. And the owners that you just mentioned, Woody Johnson, Mark Davis, I'll throw the Haslams in Cleveland in there, Amy Adams-Strunk with the Titans, bad owners. And we would hate to see them with a headset on the sidelines, taking notes, because we know that they are bad owners. because they have a long history of actively hurting their football team. Jerry Jones, same way. No one's more involved than Jerry Jones is. My goodness, because we know we have plenty of a sample size to know that those are bad owners. We don't have that with Carlie Irsay-Gordon. All we know of Carlie Irsay-Gordon as the principal owner of the Indianapolis Colts is the fact that they are 7-2 and are a top spot in their division. They look like Super Bowl contenders. So until they don't look like that, everything Carlie Irsay-Gordon does will get praised. But that's not exclusive to her. That is the same energy that we bring to anyone else and everyone else in the NFL.
It's amazing because again, when you're in transition with ownership, it's easy for things to fall apart. And the first year of any new ownership group is their chance to really show who they are as owners. And I think what we've seen so far, whether it's the luck of the draw, whether it's the greatness in the building, we'll never know. Whether it was the bricks that were originally laid by Jim Irsay that are now being followed on, we'll never know. What we know is that suddenly Daniel Jones has found a resurgence, and the Colts have found a resurgence, and this Colts offense has found its life in ways we never imagined. And a team that's been sort of stuck mid, it's been a 6-7 team, is all of a sudden finding themselves at the top of the AFC or near the top of the AFC in a real Super Bowl contender. And it's all happening at the same time that we're watching new ownership sort of establish who they're going to be. The best way to establish a winning culture is to win football games, and it's happening right now. So
Yeah.
a lot of praise goes to the Colts organization. A lot of praise goes to Irsay-Gordon. A lot of praise goes to how this is going down.
I will be fascinated too because every year around the Super Bowl, the NFLPA report cards come out and it's grading, team travel, treatment of families, facilities, and ownership. That every team owner gets a grade from the locker rooms and from their teams. I'll be fascinated to see the grade that Carlie Irsay-Gordon gets. If the perception and the way that we feel publicly about Carlie Irsay-Gordon is also kind of felt in the locker room. Last year, when Jim Irsay was still the active and controlling owner of the team, ownership got a B. I'll be fascinated to see if that changes now that Carlie Irsay-Gordon is calling the shots.